Well, hey, thank you guys all so much for coming to our little GIS discussion, I guess. Our goals today are just to kind of, I know a lot of you guys I'm familiar with. We basically sent this invite out to people who are registered users of Beacon or people who are actively using public GIS systems. Beacon's kind of what we call like an Uber map, where all the departments kind of pitch in and throw some information onto this map. And I know it's heavily used. We have about 500,000 visitors consuming like 8 million data points last year. So it's heavily trafficked internationally as well. Like a lot of those hits come from overseas. So there's a lot of people consuming this data on Beacon. I feel like that's where we try to drive a lot of people because you have a lot of documents, forms, maps, real estate data. You can pay your taxes, credit card processing. So like Beacon's a very effective way to reach you guys and traditionally what we've used. So today is kind of wanted to reach out and see the people who use it the most. Is there more information on that Uber map that can help you guys in your day-to-day lives, can help your clients, can help you in the real estate community as citizens, whatever. But then also the county has invested a lot of money in other high-tech GIS infrastructure that is not as well trafficked, that a lot of people don't really know what's out there. And some of this stuff is really great for citizens. Some of this stuff is potential in the future to shape how we interact with businesses and individuals in the community as government officials. But some of it is up there right now, really kind of functional tools for people who are in the real estate community. And so basically today, the structure we have is real kind of informal. If there's any questions, comments, please raise your hand. We have this will be on YouTube later, so we have a microphone for you we'll bring out so you can, say whatever it is your input is. But basically, I just kind of wanted to turn it over to my staff one by one who have developed these tools, let them show you some of the stuff that is out there right now that you guys can be using. And then we'll kind of just turn it over to you guys to kind of get an idea of this idea of a lot of the stuff they're building is very specific. It's not like Beacon where it's an Uber map. They're web applications and websites that deal with very specific things, particularly like rental properties and what information we have on those. We'll look at neighborhood for those of you who are realtors. Angie, we stole from your real estate, profession and applied her knowledge of that to try to better define residential areas, what kind of houses exist there, how they're graded, what features they have, what those subdivisions are like, and then put them in a place where layman can consume them in a normal, like easy to understand format. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who does a lot with rental properties, and he can describe what information we have out there and what we put out there for investors, renters, landlords, etc. So thanks guys again for coming.
All right, hi everybody. I started working here in 2017. I was doing part-time rental data collection. We were putting everything into Microsoft Access. So started building a database, getting it cleaned up, and it was about a year ago I ported everything over into Arcgis. Just a table that held all the properties with whether they were a rental or not, and tracked when they were reviewed, and we use that to calculate the GRM data. This map, this is a public map that's on the Tippecanoe County hub. It's right here. So this holds. This is fed from a few different data sources. We have, let's see, this is the sales data here. This is our collected rental data, the annual rent, and this averages it updates for what's on the map. So you can go to different neighborhoods and zoom in. These are the calculated GRMs that we use from properties that we know were rentals and that we have a valid sale for. So it's pretty cool to see this is what we're using. Let me get some on the screen. And then you can calculate in real time like what the GRM would be based on the actual sales. So 150K divided by 20. I'm getting 7.5, a little lower than the 8.3. But I have slicers in here for different months, so we can track the last like 2 years instead and see if that changes. These are just the cluster points. These are kind of static here, but it shows that what areas have, like the red is like above average GRMs and the blue are below average. This updates to what property classes are on the screen, like 510s are single family, duplexes. And then on here we have the actual rents that we have collected in the database per unit. I have it cut down per bed. This screen's a little different on my laptop. It kind of chops things off. But yeah, you can see how many data points are on the screen at any time. And then we have the different categories on here that we've divided the rentals into. So that'll auto update too. So this is the public side that you guys can access to see the data that we're working with. And then I could show you, there's also this heat map that shows like the hot spots. On our end, we have this rental viewer. You can search by address. It'll zoom in. But here it's updating what we've collected, rent per bed, per unit. It's going to take a second to upload or update. And then I also have some slicers, so you can slice down to 3 beds and what they're renting for. And this is all collected data from like Zillow and HotPads. So this is stuff, if it's on here, it's pretty much stuff we've verified. And this can also be sliced by different years too. So you can see how the rent's changed per bed or average rent per month. Let's see.
Does this confirm what you think is?
How do you get to, like, I know how to get to the sales research tool from Acre. So how do you get to the GRM? I'm not sure how to get to it.
It's here, Tippecanoe hub.maps.arcgis.com.
But that's not linked from Acre. Yeah, all right, all the way to the bottom.
But just speaking more broadly, York, I mean, that's a good question. One of the reasons I kind of brought you all here today is we have all these specific applications, and we want to make it as clear as possible how to get here. That would be input I think the county would welcome, is how do you consume this stuff? Where do you want to see it? Because it's like, you know, you can put so much information on the Uber map to where it becomes unusable. You know, putting all this rental stuff on the beacon map would really slow it down. I think it is good to have infrastructure and ways to have very specific applications that focus on something and really give you everything you could possibly want to know about what types of property are renting, you know, what they're selling for as a percentage of their rent, where they are, see them on a map. And so how can we arrange these specific applications in a way that people can, like appraisers can find them, realtors can find them, you can point your clients there, et cetera. So I don't know that we're going to answer that today, but that is something that we wanted to say that, you know, we're receptive to. We've seen how many people can use it if it's accessible, and we want to make the best tools accessible. So maybe that's something. And we'll follow up everything, but we'll follow up with where this stuff is right now, like a follow-up email and some links to the stuff we present today, in case you're trying to find some of this stuff at home. But just feel free to reply to that follow-up with any advice on how, as public users, you want to consume this stuff, or how we can make it easier for you guys to get access to this.
And then I just want to show this one off. This is more for maybe like internal, like county users or for different departments. This is the dashboard I made for my part-time helper, Jessica. Before she started, I built this so she could just see her progress and so we could like make sure we're staying on track with what we're working on. So we track the rentals by the review date. So this is how many we have that we classify as a rental that haven't been looked at in over a year. And this is how many have been looked at in the last 28 days. These are sales that were classified for a rental purpose, so they need to be looked at to see if we can find a GRM from that. I just added these yesterday, the total rentals that we have in the database and how many data points of like a rental listing, and then by year, how many we have collected. And then down here is just kind of like a daily, like a daily or a monthly tracker for these. Oh, that would have a scale too. So we can just see how many new things we're adding and make sure we're keeping a good pace. So that was pretty fun to build, just to, so everybody that wants to see our progress internally, we can just take a look at that. That's about all for the rental GRM. Are there any questions for me?
Might want to just describe what a GRM is, not everybody here
Yeah, and it's just basically really simple valuation tool for looking at residential property. A gross rent multiplier in our world is what percentage of annual gross, or what multiple of annual gross rent a property sells for. So, you know, if a property is renting for $10,000 a year, it sells for $100,000, the GRM is 10. So as you, and it's recalculating these as you zoom in. So like you can go to campus and you'll see a really high GRM. You go to the north end of Lafayette, it's one of the lowest GRMs. And a lot of this is to kind of confirm hypotheses we have, you know. Same with rent, so you can see where the rent is high and low. But Aaron, thanks for, one last thing, there's a bunch of categories there where you can look at how in an area, it'll kind of break down the GRM for a duplex, for multifamily up to, you know, 4 units, single families. So even in an area, the single families might perform differently than duplexes, 3 units, from a rent perspective and GRM perspective. And, so like I said, we have an employee who's really dedicated to searching down rental listings and stuff. And so yeah, it's important for us to be credible when we value rental properties. The client courts, I mean, that's huge for you guys. And so any advice you have would be valued.
Well, I've got a question on that last slide you just had up there. On the rental data collection, is there a way to zero in on the date that, let's just say you've got a property there and you say the rent's $13.50. Is there a way to get the date that was collected?
Yeah, we track the review, the day we collected it and what the listing date was, like on Zillow or HotPads.
Yes, because that's pretty important. There's a big difference between January and December.
Yeah, and I just started collecting year over year too, so I'm not overwriting the data, so we're going to be able to go back 2 years and see the percent change too. So.
Well, I noticed on there, like, if you click on the URL where you say you've collected the data, it just takes you just to HotPads and not to the specific.
On the GRM one?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think what she's talking about is in the beginning, we started saving the link to
Yes.
where the rent was, and they would take it down, and those links would just
Yeah.
go to HotPads. So I think in response to that, we've begun taking screenshots.
Okay.
So it'll be an actual, like,
And then.
yeah, that's a valid, we noticed
Yeah.
that too, like, those are not.
And then are the diamonds the only ones being used to calculate the GRM?
That's just a static snapshot from 21.
You want to show what happens when you click on one of those?
Yeah, well, like, you have all the little dots that I'm assuming are not being used to calculate a GRM. Just the diamonds, or am I wrong?
The diamonds are showing what was collected. That's like the static GRM that we use. And then this kind of, with the live data, you can see if the live data is reflecting well on what we are using as our static GRM. Yes. Yeah.
So those clusters will change as you zoom in and out.
Yes. Well, I'd like to drill in on specific neighborhoods.
Yeah, and this
And
will,
when I do, I'm clicking and I'm not getting, so like, okay, what you have on the screen there, you have a bunch of little dots and then you have like 3 diamonds there. So what homes are being used? All of them? Or?
no, these are all rentals.
There's no rentals, no data.
It'll recalculate as you zoom in and out, but the actual
Yeah.
calculations are based on the categories. So like,
It shows how many are on here too. There's only 3 GRMs on this screen currently.
Yeah, so you're only using the diamonds, correct, to calculate a GRM?
I mean, the diamonds are showing,
Diamonds are cluster points of things that are data that's identical. So it may not be the average of the collect class and everything. That's just saying that that's a good indicator because it's a cluster.
yeah, but I would refer to this for this is averaging what's totally on the screen, not just the cluster points. I need to work on
So I
the,
can't drill down on each one of those dots then to see what you've gathered for information, but you're using information from the dots.
the dots should have information as well as like the rent we've collected and the sales. The diamonds are clusters of the dots, but you should be able to click on a dot and.
I think I have, I try to manage space. Sometimes I have the layers like hidden under places. Here's like sizes by the GRM. This has all the data about the GRM. It was 11,
For that data point.
and this was from
For that one
2021.
That
dot.
one point.
Yeah, so this is a little more where you can drill into it if that's what you want to do.
So when you click on either, any of those, it should bring up the information for just that data point. The diamonds will kind of summarize multiple data points on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good to know because I didn't know how much people were wanting to see every single GRM we're using or if they're just trying to see
And basically, what you
averages.
guys, honestly, this is for what you guys might be more interested in too, and maybe this is something that the group might want to see, is these, I don't know if you can read them, but
Yeah,
there's these categories.
Yes.
We have all the rentals in a category of like North End duplex, campus, single family. And you guys might be just interested in our summary statistics per category, because that's really, you might not be able to zoom in on a whole category or get just that category on a screen. Maybe we can make a way to filter per category.
Yeah.
So if they're interested in just stuff that's being valued together, you can filter for just the stuff we're using, whereas when the public has access to it, we just thought we'd make it based on whatever they want to view, which if you're really trying to like validate an assessment, you're not so interested in maybe the viewing screen, but what we've actually used. And so we can maybe filter by, that'd be a good, I'm trying to take your input and make it functional, but
Yeah.
but maybe being able to filter by category,
Yeah,
to
I
see
need
an
to
entire
add-
category would be helpful for your purposes.
Yeah, I can add category per
Since
screen.
This isn't really then geared towards, it's for a bunch of appraisers. What do you expect them to use out of this?
It wasn't made specifically for appraisers. It was made for anyone who's trying to value property informally, professionally,
Yeah.
the public in general, people who rent, just should I release this apartment for a G? It's really just, we collect, like, we have, Aaron manages, other employees who are really just dedicated to collecting this. We put so much into collecting it, we're like, what a shame not to put it out there for all the other purposes it might serve. So-
Yeah, you guys shared this with me in 2019, so I've been on here before.
Awesome. Yeah, we really do value
But-
any input you have to it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, I'd like to continue, any other ways that this can be more functional to any of you, let us know. I'd like to turn it over to Angie. Angie's built some cool stuff. We have these neighborhoods, for those of you who've dealt with my office, we always have these neighborhoods that are like a number, neighborhood 555 or whatever, and I know that that's Winding Creek, the north side of it, but those numbers are arbitrary to everyone else. And so one thing we wanted to do is make sure that as we go through our legal process of looking at parcels every year, that that our staff was creating documentation on what we're calling a neighborhood beyond this numerical number. And I was really impressed with Angie's work product, and so we thought it'd be something great to incorporate to Beacon, put out there. So as she goes through these, she's perpetually looking at neighborhoods and doing her best to define the types of properties in those neighborhoods, their physical characteristics, and put it out there in a way that the real estate community and the public can use. So, Andy, you want to show us what you got going on?
Thank you. Okay, I'm really nervous, you guys, so sorry. All right, so I want you to know first that neighborhoods, the way we've defined them are different than the way maybe you've defined them. For example, Hills and Dales, we have, this is not Hills and Dales. The way that we've delineated neighborhoods is,
Print any bigger, it's not visible. I can't read it from there.
Yeah, sorry, that's just a report tab from Beacon. That's not what she's presenting on.
yeah, this is just Beacon. This
Yeah,
is
sorry.
just.
So- and we'll send out links to all this stuff too, so you guys can follow along.
So if you go to a parcel let's say you're searching for a parcel, an address or whatever, it'll take you to this main page on Beacon. And right in this area here, under summary, it'll show you the neighborhood code, what neighborhood it's in. This one is particularly 219. Okay, so you scroll down to the bottom of the page, past like the property sketches, and you'll come across neighborhood description. We've created a little link there for you guys to click on. And I don't know, you have to be logged in, or it just for the public. Okay, so you don't have to be logged in. So what it'll do, it'll take you to this neighborhood page. And on the map, it'll show you where neighborhood 219 is, and you can zoom in and out.
Valley Forge. So 219 probably doesn't mean much to you, but everyone knows what like Valley Forge is, so it gives you
Right.
a cool view of it as well.
And some neighborhoods will have multiple neighborhoods within. So I was giving you the example of Hills and Dales. Is it combined with another neighborhood? Okay. Okay. Well, we combine the different neighborhoods together based on year built, similar year built, similar grading. What else?
Lot size, land value, school districts, et cetera. So sometimes what you consider a neighborhood might not have enough sale activity for us to consider a neighborhood or to stand alone from a valuation standpoint. So that's why we wanted to put online how we were grouping things together.
Okay, so on this page, we have, you can zoom in and out of the map here, and it'll change the data that you see on the screen around here. So we have the average assessed value for what you can see in the screen. So I can shift this over and zoom in, and the data will change. We have a sale right here, you can see. So we have an average assessed value, highs and low, average land value, just a lot of info. I'm not going to go into detail about too many of these things. You guys can play around with it if you'd like. Down here, we have sale prices versus assessed value. So for example, this sale right here that's highlighted, when I can hover over this, you can see that it was assessed for $169.9 and it sold for $245. So this is based on, all this data is based on the previous year cyclical, previous year sales and also the assessed value. So we might have sales from this year included on here, but the assessed values are based on the previous year, since we haven't rolled the values yet for this coming year, 23. Does that make sense? Okay. So then you scroll down a little further on the page, and here's where we have the neighborhood data link. You just click on that, and this is just general information about where the subdivision is located, how far it is from restaurants and interstate and all that data. And anything you guys would like to see on here that is not on here, I would love input on as well.
Covenants and restrictions.
What was that?
Covenants and restrictions.
Okay. Can you write that down? Yeah.
And then also rentals. Could you highlight rentals and then?
Okay. Yeah. Highlight rentals.
That's what I like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great input, because like I said, we have all these, we have like Uber maps that have everything, and then we have these very specific maps. So there's probably ways that the specific maps would benefit from being linked to, like the last map you saw. Like we could tie those together and pull in some of that. So yeah, that's great, and thank you so much.
Mhm. So the next tab was the grade descriptions, and this is basically the criteria that we use when we grade a house. From this neighborhood, looks like it starts at C grade, so I have descriptions on, you know, what we use to grade it as a C with a photo example. The photos might not be all great because we have to do street view sometimes because we can't use your photos anymore. Unless you want to give me special permission, then that would be helpful. So yeah, it's just self-explanatory. Is it self-explanatory? Okay. So that's basically it. I mean, this map here is interactive, so you can zoom in and get the parcel number, just a bunch of information that you might need. The grade is there, the condition is there, the square footage, total assessed value, the last sale price, and the sale date. And we have some links here that'll take you to the Beacon report screen and some imagery that we have on file, saved on file. And then at the top, we have, this is a link to a sales research tool that James Warner has made. Do you want me to click on it? You want to see it? Okay. So this is James's tool. And I would rather James explain this than me. I just provided the links for it. Do you mind if I click off of this?
I'm not making a transition.
Okay, well, I wanted to share the other links too. Real quick, if I can find my way. Okay. I have a link back to Beacon, and then recently, so this takes you to Zillow, and some of the links will zoom you right to your neighborhood that you're looking for, but not all of them do that. And then this is residential vacant land sales data, which is what Mary developed. So I can maybe let Mary explain it. It looks very similar to everything else we've created. Does anyone have questions? Yes.
Do you have historic district boundaries?
Historic district boundaries. Is that a yes?
Yeah, I can check.
Okay. Also, not all the neighborhoods have a description yet because I'm working through it just one at a time as we do our cyclical assessment, and so it takes a lot of time. So just be patient, as it's going to take a long time to get all the neighborhoods a description. Yes?
When you get those rental amounts or even the sale amounts, specifically rental, I guess, are you hand putting those in, or are you connected with Zillow to where it will, if it's got an address, it just goes in there?
We get our information, our data from CAMA. Is that where we're getting it from?
The sales are the sales disclosure process.
Sure.
As far as the rents you asked about, sitting right behind you in the yellow top is Jessica. It's her job to just troll the listings, troll Facebook, troll boiler apartments.
Looking at those manually, one at a time?
One at a time, going in there. It's a full-time job for somebody. Yeah. And honestly, when we show these products to other counties, they're like, yeah, we get the technology, where do you get the data from? It's like, we enter it one by one all year long, and they're like, well, that's the part we're not going to do. So no, that is a huge undertaking. So, yeah.
Can I say one thing? Zillow is not always correct.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and just because we link to Zillow just because we'd like people to have access to MLS stuff, but we don't take that data from them. We don't incorporate it into our process. It's just and we'd be, I think that was something that Beacon pioneered. A lot of their clients asked for there to be MLS links on Beacon. We were also happy to work with Lafayette Board of Realtors to have links to your listings if you guys wanted to work that out. So we just want people to have access to as much information as possible, and I think MLS is part of that. But yeah, we're definitely aware that sometimes our information doesn't match theirs, and usually we assume ours is better vetted. But I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that just means it's not ready yet. It should be public. If the neighborhood's available, it will be public. You could just click on it without having to log in. Is that correct, James?
And so I guess my follow-up to that would be, is there a link to the neighborhoods that are confused, maybe on that GIS stuff?
Is there a link?
Jackie?
Yeah, where's
I don't know
Jackie?
if she's here. She did compile all the ones that were done, and she did make a list of, hey, here's everything that's done. And we'll send that out in a follow-up to this, as far as should that list be, and that's another, it's all part of like, I think it goes back to your last question is, yes, it's out there somewhere that I can link you to, but how do we organize this so you're not always like, what other place is this document I need? How do we organize it so it makes sense to everybody? But good input.
Mainly the way we use this, the intended use was for appeal season, right? So when people come in and want to appeal their values, we can take them to this page and,
Yeah, not so much the formal appeal, it's, a lot of times
Pre-appeal.
people look at their record card and they want to talk about what it says, and a lot of it's fairly, objective. This is how many square feet you have, this is when your house was built. Part of it is, this is how we graded it, its functionality and architectural significance. And when they say, well, how'd you come up with that? It's not so objective. And it's like, well, it's a subjective thing. But there's a lot that goes into it, and so what we wanted to do with these, at least with the grades, was you might not agree with what a C is, but at least you can go and see what we're calling it, and calling your neighbors, and see that it's different from subdivision to subdivision. So we're trying to put as much information we had behind our subjective rankings online in response to a lot of conversations we've had with anyone who's kind of looked at the record card and been like, why am I a C and my neighbor a C+, or why am I graded higher than my neighbor? Well, you should be able to kind of look and see, or be like, use it to identify inequities or validate the process.
Sorry, go ahead. I actually just had a client inquire about the property lines on the, just moments ago for a fence. And so sometimes I'll give them a screenshot of what I can find in Beacon, and sometimes it's very skewed into another neighborhood, or neighbor's yard. Is that anything that can be controlled or otherwise, or is it just not a good source?
So those lines on Beacon are basically a reflection of someone in the auditor's office whose job it is to maintain the digital plat book online. And so when you have someone putting up a fence, or to say their shed's too close, or their walkways on my property, what we tell people is Beacon's a great place to start. Depending on your relationship, that could be the thing needed to, if two neighbors have a good relationship and they can kind of talk through it and work through it. A lot of times when they don't, or it's kind of adversarial, or they want something more legally defined, they're putting a lot of importance on it. Maybe it's not a fence, but a really determination of where they're going to build a house or something. We always tell folks that those stuff online are really just kind of our best representation. They're not really for legal purposes or litigation. And we recommend, if it's really important, that they get a survey, an independent survey. But I feel like in my private life, I'd use them to great effect to just be like, hey, look, can we talk about this, So it really just depends on the people involved and how formal they are and how adversarial it is. Like,
It's a tight neighborhood, it's Benjamin Crossing.
okay.
So that's a really hard one to, she could call a fence company and have the fence company, oh, well, yeah, but where do we find real information? I don't know, it's just going to get a survey for a tiny little,
Right.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that's stuff that exists and I thought I'd share.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people aren't going to pay, $1,000 for a survey to put up a $1,200 fence or something, but it really just depends on how much of a financial decision you're making. Because, you build a fence, the end result is you may have to move it, and you build it in the wrong spot. Maybe the risk is worth it, whereas, I don't know that I build a house without getting a survey and maybe have to move a $500,000 you can't, right? So, it's really just kind of like, what's the nature of the dispute? Is this going to be enough to satisfy whatever, legal liability there is? But we tell people it's really just, the best representation they can do, but it's not in lieu of a survey. But we get those inquiries so often, and people really desire for there to be a government arbiter of where your land is, and I think they probably call the surveyor a lot, asking them to do those surveys because they don't want to pay for a private one. But no, I think that's one input I can't affect change on. I don't think the government, Acre would be able to help people with those formally. Yeah.
Is there any more input, as realtors or users that you would like to see on this to make it more meaningful to you? No? Okay.
What?
Homesteads.
Could you repeat the question? We can't hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Scott was wondering if there was a way on any of these layers to determine who had a homestead, or maybe just more generally what exemptions and deductions were applied. Not that I'm aware of, but that would be very doable, and that's a great
Yeah,
idea.
write that down.
It exists as a
Write that
rest
down.
service for daughters.
Yeah, that would be, I feel like that would be a good, like, Uber map component, like a beacon thing, like something that, yeah. Noted. Thanks, Scott.
Okay. Do we want Mary to explain her land?
Yeah,
Tab.
the other part of the, like, neighborhoods are, we also have a lot of vacant land we deal with. Vacant land has a lot less cohesiveness. There's, especially when there's so many subdivisions that are fully developed. So, Mary's tried to become, as much as we can, a vacant land expert and share that with you guys. It's very much like the rental database where all the vacant land is broken up into category, major platted subdivision, footprint in a PD, meets and bounds, minor subdivision, platted historic. But once we have them all in these categories, we just do them on a map with whatever sales we have, and really looking at the price per acres in these different categories has been pretty cool to
Yeah.
become as expert-like as we can at this. But,
Try, right?
And if you guys have any, vacant land has always been a difficult property type for us, just
Right.
because it's not like improved property where there's thousands of sales every year. And the sales we do have, there's oftentimes many factors that make them unable to compare due to, drainage or well or septic or city. There's just a lot of features for these scantily transacted stuff, especially in the rural areas. So we try to put what we have out there and get as an objective look as we can, and we hope this stuff is valuable. Again, we're open to whatever you guys want to see. I don't know how many of you guys actually deal with vacant land all that regularly. It could be difficult to. This is residential vacant land. The commercial stuff.
Right, yeah.
That's
It's not including that, right?
Another project for maybe the future. Probably something we will make a similar commercial map for, but we don't have that launched right now. So yeah, take it away, Mary.
All right, so I went through and I categorized everything like plotted minor subdivision, major subdivisions, and that's what you can see over here when you scroll around. And then also category by price per acre sold. And then if you come down in this area, then we have the parcel size, price per acre also. And then here's an average price per acre. Since we're in a subdivision, it seems really high because you're only buying like a quarter of an acre or less in a subdivision. So that goes down when you go out and you pan around into the rural areas where you have larger lots. And as you can see, all of these, when you scroll around, these averages are based on the area that you see on the map. And so you also have lot size and lot sold price down here that you can scroll through, and then the average sold price. So here there's 41 parcels that's being counted in this area that I have scrolled here or zoomed in at. And then the average sold price will also change too. So it's very much like the neighborhood. And this link is also, when you go to Angie's, it's this last link there, so you can go to that to check any neighborhood that you want to look at and see, and pan around just to see basically the land values in there. And I also have the school corporations on there too. So when you pull that up, I'm not sure how relevant that is, and it doesn't seem to want to come up. All right. Slow internet speed? I don't know.
Where do where do you realtors get the school zone information from? Do you go to great schools or?
Sometimes you have public schools that are voting cards, that otherwise that's kind of left with the school, then you're relying on another agency's knowledge. You could get fined if you have it wrong.
If you go to Beacon, can you
Yep.
click back to
Yeah.
the Beacon site?
Yep.
So if you go to Beacon on the parcel page, the specific parcel page,
It'll show you right here. So this right here tells you it's Tippecanoe School Corps.
the TS.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah,
But it's like the elementary schools, that you have to, make sure certain.
Right.
Anyone comes in.
Right.
So we're trying to figure that out. When you had school data, I saw Angie on your presentation, where
Yeah.
you had it, clicked on information.
Right, the data.
Neighborhood information, and I was like, oh, I'll just do that now, and then it's on you, as soon as it's wrong.
Yeah, and it will change. I might want to put that on the map so it changes with us.
right, right. So also, you can also click on these individually, and the parcel information will come up also, if it ever gets around to it. You click through. So that's about it on the land. If anybody has any feedback, obviously, reach out to us, and we'll see what we can do to get that added to it.
Yeah, these are kind of the stuff we wanted to show you as far as some of the neighborhood stuff, the land stuff. We also have a lot of stuff that is potential, future stuff in development, and to give kind of a broad overview of some of the cool stuff we can do, some of the directions we want to head, and see if you guys have any opinion. James can also talk about his sales tool. He's kind of the architect of a lot of this infrastructure that we've put together, and has created the environment that we are able to work in. And so, yeah, I'm trying to keep this guy under an hour. I know we're all really busy. So the last section of this, James, you want to show us some of the future stuff and explain some of this infrastructure? And yeah, we'll do a quick little,
Before I get into the future, I just want to give you a little bit of background on it. Back in 2020, when they closed down the government offices right for COVID, I went home and was looking, at that everybody remember seeing that John Hopkins map with all the people all over the world, and how many cases, how many deaths, and all that. And that map was published on Arcgis Online, which is this tool. And the map was cool, everybody's looking at it. It wasn't answering questions for me, because I was wondering, like, why is Italy getting so, pummeled with this, and other countries in Europe aren't? So I started looking into it. I was able to make a free account on Arcgis Online. Anybody here can make a free account on the system, which gives you access to a lot of data. So I was able to kind of rebuild that map, that John Hopkins map, using their exact data sources for my own map. Only I was able to go ahead and add in like a median age, obesity data, housing, population density information, which started answering a lot of questions for me. And almost right away I could see, okay, this was a virus that was, affecting elderly people. They had the highest median ages, also had the most deaths, so I showed these maps to Eric. I said, well, Eric, look what we're doing with this technology. We have had GIS technology in the county for a long time, and we didn't see anybody producing maps like I was able to do pretty quickly. And so we entered into an agreement for Arcgis Online subscription, this hub subscription, and began throwing our assessment data on the map. So it started off just kind of like my own personal inquiry into it, and so that's kind of where it started. And then we started right away. And this now with this technology, I mean, we're almost every aspect of our office, including personal property auditing. We can go on and see what not just what the zoning is, but actually is that a hair salon or a liquor store? And be able to identify that. We use it for our building permits. Our building permit folks go out to the field. Aaron goes out, looks at a commercial building, takes a picture of it with his cell phone, it's geocoded, uploaded to the map instantly. Any of those plans or any of the data, we just put that on inside of our internal maps. So let me get to where it'd be helpful if I Oh, I can see it on the screen there. Okay. All right. I'll go back to, I just want to cover a few things. I don't want to go like too long, like Eric was saying, as I get a little long-winded sometimes. I'm going to briefly go over the sales tool, but there's some other things I want to show you because some of you were asking about things like the school districts for elementary schools and that kind of thing, and I want to show you how to add that information to a map. This sales tool, I've been, Eric and I were down in New Orleans at an international conference for GIS technology and valuation where I was presenting this stuff we've done in our office. We had won an award in 2021, a SAG award, which was given to, really, we were the only organization in Indiana out of all the universities and all the research firms and anybody, the people using this technology, we were the only ones that won an award that year. And so I've been kind of on a little bit of a tour talking about what we've done with it in the assessor's office, how it's helped us to save money, streamline our workflow, be able to defend appeals, helping maintain new tax revenue and realizing other tax revenue. So this tool was something that was what was a lot of the assessors were really interested in, and the company actually they use this as their demonstration when they're trying to sell this product to other counties and other jurisdictions. So what we're seeing here with this sales tool, and this links from Beacon. We had a lot of I'll just say where it is at. We had a lot of frustration with Beacon. Their sales comps. Their sales comp tool just didn't give us enough information. It just didn't really work with our software, right? So, but if you go up here, if you see where it says Beacon Comp Search and there's Comp Search at the top, that'll take you right to this other sales tool. I think I've got one already loaded, so I'll just go back to it. So the way this works, it shows you the different property classes, and there's a link here that tells you what those property classes mean, because 100 doesn't mean anything to most people, but it tells us that it's vacant farmland. And so that gives you the kind of properties we're looking at. So we can see this is a wide pool. So some of these averages down here don't make a lot of sense because it's using farmland and that sort of thing. But you can, we do have a filter tool here. So if I wanted to say a filter for a specific kind of property, some of these I have built like farmland only, already built out. Sale date, you can specify the range of sales. If I just wanted to see commercial property, just farms, just vacant land. So this is just single-family homes. And when I turn on this filter, these buttons out here are what turn things on and off. When I turn on the filter, I have to get to an area. Again, it's computing data from the map itself. So if it's not populating, you're just in an area where there wasn't any single families. But when I go over there, then you can see, now this makes a little more sense, it's a little more specific. This gives you our assessment to sale ratios, where we can see what things are selling for. This gives us a average price per square foot of the sales that are on the screen. This is the average sale price of the sales that are on the screen. Here we can see a chart that tells you, this is just kind of tells us how we're doing as far as assessors. Are we assessing? Generally, we like to see this where the sale price is maybe a little higher than the assessment, and it just, because we know there's a lot of fees and things like that every time a property sells. Of course, if you go by, this is arrayed by the sale date, so at the end of it is going to give you the more recent sales, and then again you can see how we're doing in comparison from our, all of these different widgets also expand. So there's a little box here that will bring it up, to a bigger size. So you can better see this difference between sales and assessment. Sale dates are on here. Close this up. This is, the recorder doesn't really care about the sale prices. This is data that the assessor's office collects. So when they file sales disclosures, the data comes into our sales disclosure system, and then I export that to this tool. These are sales that have been recorded. There is a way to filter for only ones that are verified or have been, what do we call it, approved or whatever, when we see them, what we're going to use for trending.
Yeah, but to answer your question, the deed comes to the recorder, we get the sales disclosure, and we'll filter out quick claim deeds and stuff where, someone sells their brother half a property or something, so these should just recognize.
Yeah,
be simple.
So some of the things on here also, there's a select tool so that you can go in and say that say we're looking at an area and we'd like to select a certain spot. we might use this select tool, and it goes in, there's a select piece here. We can decide what do we want to select by, a circle, a line, maybe everything on one side of a street. You can draw a free-form polygon or by a specific point. Let's just say here, let me use a line. I want to know about all these sales on this side of the street. So I would use that line tool. Should be able to get in here, and things are not working exactly how I'd like. But with that select tool, so we'll go in and select by line. Should be able to just click on a spot, click to start drawing. See, I just pull that line down. I want everything on that side of the street. So now anything that is double-clicked, now everything that's been selected, it'll give me data on. You can see I have 9 sales that were in 2021 from that data source. When I go in, I can see some statistics on the sales. There's also a way you can export that data to a CSV. Any of the data that's on the map, you can also, this bottom tab, keep an eye out for these. This gives you the raw data. When we pull up this raw data, you can see here I've got 2022 sales. There are the data from the sales points. There are vacant land sales. And under options here to the left, this gives you the option to be able to filter this data down more specifically. So if you're looking for things within a certain square foot range, number of bathrooms, a certain amount of acreage, whatever it is, you can create your own custom filters of the data. Also, you can export that data to a CSV file for your own purposes. So this is the sales tool. If you have any questions about it, get a hold of me. I'll be glad to walk you through it or show you what to do. On the top of these maps, we have these links to other special maps. Again, what Eric was talking about, this sort of Beacon does provide this, what they call the LGIM, a local government information model, that has all of the basic data that all local governments carry, and it's a lot. You know, you look at that layer list, and it's just kind of overwhelming. So what we attempt to do with Hub is to create specific applications for specific things. You know, you can probably figure out what voting district you're in. On Beacon, there's a layer for it, but it's kind of complicated, where on here, we were able to make a lookup for what voting district you're in, you know, for the election office, a very specific tool just for that specific thing. On the top, so this is where we have a back to our homepage. We've got the My County map. I wanna go over a real. What's that? Your screen probably isn't big enough. If you're, you might need to set. Is anybody on this? Yeah, I don't have them on.
You don't have them on yours? No, they're not. It's a screen setting. They won't appear if you don't have enough real estate on your screen. If you have try it back at the office and look for. Yeah, I have the same issue on my other laptop where it doesn't appear. They may be. Sometimes there's like a drop down or another link. Is there anything underneath where it says like sales research tool? Did you see that? Okay. I'll take a look at it, but I've been on non-logged in machines, and they're there. I would try it on your home computer and try it with depending on how much pixel size you have. Sometimes if it's a larger pixel size on a smaller screen, it won't appear. It doesn't appear on cell phones and stuff. But all these things are on the homepage. So if I go back to that homepage, you can find them. I'm just going to start there. I was showing somebody, we also linked to this from Beacon, but this is our homepage for our Hub community and the different tools that we have available. I've got the voting district lookup that some people might have used coming up. There's some other election maps. One of the things that we realized about this system when we first got it, and it's about to become very much more robust from some cooperation with the IT department and the commissioner's office, so there will be a lot more things we can do with it. But when we first started, we realized we had 100 user licenses, and we only had we have 15 people in our office. And so we started to kind of be GIS evangelicals out there trying to get people to use our system. So that was extended to members of nonprofits. We had some people with land trusts and environmental organizations, many other county offices, including the Election Commission, and I think we have Reed. We've kind of streamlined our
land split process, working with the auditor's office. Got a couple people in APC that have accounts, so that's out there. But from this homepage, yeah, and you can see what those areas are. These are some of the maps we've created. We've got some surveys that geocode information, have some humanitarian resources. This will show you where all the homeless shelters are at, and the food pantries, and their hours of operation. There's some other information about some internal maps and other projects we've done, all the different election maps. The one that I want to show before we run out of time for sure, mainly because I think Amy was asking about the school districts and want to know the elementary school districts and all that. What I want to show you this is something that is so underneath, that's our this My County map is a map that I created to allow you to add your own data to it. So if you have a special thing that you're interested in and you've got some geocoded data, you know, if you had some sales data of your own, or I don't know, like say your client list, and you knew the latitude and longitude of each of those properties, you could add those to your own map that would also have other county data. So this map gives us a little disclosure. Basically, most of these disclosures are about the same. We just say we're using this for reference, and you know, don't. It's not a legal survey or anything. Getting back to that question about where the property lines are at. So this map has very much like Beacon, has a ton of different layers that you can use. Some of these are actually the Beacon map layers. Some of these are provided from County Rest Services, but you can scroll down and see what those are all about. Some of them will expand into, like this one, for instance, says County Rest Services. We can go and expand that and see what those all are. There's subdivisions. There's highway information. We have different road events. So all that stuff is out here. As far as adding your own data, though, and looking up data. So I'm looking at this map, and maybe I do want to know what elementary school someone would go to. Arcgis Online has all this stuff. A lot of this information is just already out there. So there's a tool here on this My County map, this little Add Data button. And I try to keep this real simple. There's a measuring tool, there's a select tool, and there's Add Data. There's a couple other layers up here, and there's a few other tools that are at the top here. But this one's the one I want to talk about because this really empowers the users. And so you can see that when I go to Add Data, I can add it from my organization, which is just this Tippecanoe hub. I can do Arcgis Online and see what data they might have. I can also I can get it from a URL. So there are some organizations out there like indianamap.org that publish all kinds of information, from environmental data, soil information, whatever you want, population data, the census information, all is out there. But you can just add that to your own map and kind of customize the way it looks and feels. So we can see here, this is a terrain map, and I can just click Add, and then I'm adding terrain from Arcgis Online's layers. So I have, there's other information out here, but you can search for whatever you like. So in a case like this, maybe I'd go in and say schools. Let's see what we get. So looking up schools, and so you're going to get stuff, remember, from all over the place, but here's a public school data set that I just go ahead and put Add, and then that's going to, see it adds the layer at the top. This is the public school layer. This is going to show us basically, I guess this might just be the locations of them. We can look for, this one has some enrollment information. This one has school COVID cases. There's all kinds of data that you can add. So whatever, depending on what your interest is, if you're somebody that's interested in environmental science, we have there's one on recycling. Let's see what if the recycling map comes up. It gives you basically national information that's been collected. Or cities can use this map technology, and we've been trying to encourage West Lafayette and Lafayette to get on board using it. They can show the areas that their trash trucks are at. We've even developed a tool for been working with Tracy in the Commissioner's office on this and some others on the Highway Department on being able to, report a pothole from your cell phone, and then the Highway Department knows that there's a pothole reported, or if you have oversized trash, you could report that. If we could just get the city to look at the map, then they'll know to go out and say, okay, hey, there's a couch out here that we can get rid of, and I can go through those. But this is a real nice way to just add whatever data you're interested in. You can do it also from a URL, so it talked about different web services, and you just paste that data in from the web service, and you can pull it up. Also from a file, so if you have geocoded files of your own, you have, whatever spreadsheet of your current clients, or Mr. Kleincourt has a lot of rental properties, you might take it, if you had a latitude and longitude for all your rental properties, you could just add them to one of these maps on your own and just and have your own, maybe create your own management tools with it. The Arcgis Online, like I said, offers free accounts, but also a citizen or an organization can, for a very small amount of money, have their own hub. I have one that I use for some of my private stuff, and it's not really that expensive, and it's a great tool. It integrates well with the county information that's out there, county data, so you can just, any kind of these different file formats, most people are familiar with those, you can just upload those. Again, on here we've got some other pieces. I just want to show this, and this thing is just, we're kind of doing it in test mode, but this Citizen Problem Reporter, been working with the Highway Department a little bit on this. This allows someone to come in, from your cell phone, and you could go, and there's also a link to this from the main page in Hub. I'm just going to go in as a guest, and you'll see how this works. This will allow, this allows citizens to go in and, like I said, report a pothole, report any kind of problems. If they see, a hazard, a rusty, broken slide or something at one of the public, parks, just lets us know what's going on. This has the reports that someone's made already, but you can see there's different types of problems: trash problems, animal problems, blight would be like graffiti, or people haven't cut their grass, broken windows in buildings, that kind of things that are hazards. So they would just click on that. Brings up the type of problems on a drop down, so we can see blight. What do we have? Graffiti, excessive noise, tall grass, raised graffiti. So maybe we have graffiti, and it wants me to know where's it located at. So this is showing some of the current things, but we can go in and report those, and it allows us to be able to go in and hopefully they can go in and resolve those issues. One of the things that I built also. That kind of goes along these lines is we've got this the Citizen Problem Reporter, but also this year we have managed to add, the annual adjustments map is something that's interesting for government folks. Especially they could go in, and this one was featured in a publication recently for International Association of Cities and Counties, and what this does is it shows. This one will show our adjustments, so the assessor, it makes changes to values every year, and we live in about a $15 billion county, and so what this does is it tells us, once it loads here, it's a little slow, so this gives us our total assessment of the entire county of $15 billion. We can see the total change in a value, so we have added quite a significant amount this year, and this gives a total parcel count. Here is I'm going to get rid of these filters. This allows us to filter by taxing district, and now I have added, so this again shows the sales versus the AV, so we can get a sense of how the assessor's doing. What this tells our local jurisdictions, a school district, for instance, somebody representing or working for the school district could go in, filter by that taxing district the school district's in, and see how much potential revenue might be in that district for for the current year. I've added this Citizen Problem Reporter to this layer because, we could go in and say, hey, this neighborhood has a big problem with stray animals. And we know that area is going to add potential revenue of maybe there's another, here this is showing $9 million potentially. I'm sure they could hire maybe somebody else for animal control to work that area. Or if there's a lot of situations with potholes or something, maybe we know that there might need to be some investment in that neighborhood, and somebody could actually go in, see how much revenue the assessor added in a current, or how much value the assessor added, which could be potential revenue. So this has been very helpful to some people in government that where we can identify problems directly, also see where the funding's coming from in the various property sources. So anybody got any general questions for me? I mean, while I'm up here, I know we're about out of time, so.
I have a general question. It's not necessarily on this particular issue. Is that okay?
Sure, no, go right ahead. Yeah, bounce around.
So one of the issues that we run into frequently is when we see an assemblage, say for an example, like the hub site over in West Lafayette. So once they've been assembled and turned into a new development, the comps for the sales for the ground that they bought or the apartments that they bought to tear down, those comps disappear to us. When I go to Beacon and I look for sales disclosures, they won't exist. And often, that actually often happens in a lot of big sales. For some reason, maybe they've taken some steps to make the sales disclosure say 0. But that's something that we run into, is finding comps for larger apartment complexes and specifically things that have been developed. Where you've taken several parcels and combined them, and now the parcel sales are gone when I click on that parcel. Yeah, that's an issue. What causes that is that often they will, after they have collectivized all the parcels, the parcel, the sales disclosure information is tied to a parcel number, and so once that becomes just one parcel number, we don't know which one the auditor is going to decide is going to be the new parcel number to represent all of those 7 or 10 parcels or whatever it is, and so the sales data is stored under that parcel number, and it doesn't always roll over and transfer to that new property. Some of the things the one thing that I've recently been talking to Beacon about, and that I'd like to start doing with our maps, is we can do a dissolve feature, which would many times there's a whole bunch of parcels, right? And they might have all the same key number. So when that instance happens, we can dissolve those, individual parcels that share a key number to make that represented as one large shape as opposed to many multiple shapes. But that's something that we'd have to address, Andrew, really on the trying to figure out a way to move that sales data to the new key number. Can we come in and talk to you physically, and will you have those sales disclosures? Yeah. Or something? Nah, I mean, you could just call us, even if you just call me or email me the parcel information, because we could go in and look at that raw data. So that's only going to be a problem, is, again, like I said, when if the original parcel number disappears, we tie everything to that parcel number. So that's why you don't see them on Beacon or disappear on other areas. We also have this business of in the developer neighborhoods where there is new parcels being created, and they don't always know those key numbers, but we do now have a little better access to read creating that parcel there before it's published to the general. So I could go in now and see all of his new splits and combines that are going on, and we try, we do all that internally. But that's something that I think we might, in order to deliver that better online, we're really going to have to work with our folks in our customer service office who are handling that sales disclosure information, maybe in our splits and combine process where we see a key number goes away, maybe we should create a copy of that sales disclosure or something so that information can be transferred over. But that's a little bit of a complicated data management problem, but you can just email me direct if you have an idea that there might have been a sale in that area, and I'll dig around for you to pull that up in the meantime. Anything else anybody got?
Yeah, I just want to also take James, what he said about, if you have questions about that My County map, that's like a Uber map where you pick what's on it. And I know I've watched James kind of cruise through this and have been inspired, but then I've gotten back to my machine and been like, I don't remember what he said or what he clicked on or whatever. So this will be on YouTube. You can kind of see him click around, but especially those of you guys who are part of bigger outfits, realtor offices, appraiser firms, title companies, whatever. I think Kevin, your office one year, we'll come down, if you want and show you at your office how to make this work, or we can do a work session like this where you guys come in and have specific goals you want. We can show you how to do it. We've been all about showing, a lot of the power users in the community how this works so that you guys can disseminate it and give us feedback to make it more functional. So, yeah, please take us up on any of this stuff that I know it's really hard to sit through watching someone go through something in 20 minutes and then replicate it with any great effect. So really let us know what follow-up and training you guys need. James has made a ton of videos out there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of videos. Some of the map applications will have links to them, like this one on the My County map at the top. It says how to use this map. So when you just click on this, it's going to take you to a how-to session that has a video embedded in it that just goes through everything I just showed you right now. So I do a lot of these, it's easy for me to just jump on a Zoom meeting with somebody one-to-one, take them through and show them what they need to do for a specific tool. I'd actually prefer to do that than do that for you over and over again. I got a lot of people like, hey, can you do this for me? And then I'm doing their job for them or whatever, but I'd prefer to just like sit down and show somebody in a few minutes. And a lot of times I just do these as Zoom meetings by myself and I record them so that there's a trail or demonstration trail there that people can go back and reference. One of the things too is on this list, there was a link to some of our internal maps. And just to kind of, if you're curious about the kind of stuff that, what do we use this for in the office, we've done some really cool projects with City of Lafayette. This one that we did a while back was and we're working on a couple of those right now with them, where this one, for instance, was a crime study where we had this geocoded 911 call data, and literally you'd be surprised. I mentioned earlier about animal control. The number of neighborhoods where the #1 crime item is like wild dogs running around is startling. This does give us an idea. Of course, the real estate community probably wouldn't like us to be able to publish the 911 calls and see all the crime in the neighborhood, but it was just really one of the cool studies we did with the city. It was a conjunction with Purdue researchers, and they were just trying to see if public investment in a certain neighborhood was helping reduce crime, if it was increasing if the assessments were going up or down. This is just some of our internal projects. Like I said, we use this to manage our building permits, and they go in on a map like this and can see all the permits. It streamlines their workflows, gives them door-to-door directions, gives them all the data they need when they get to the field. We've really, just in a very short amount of time, been able to completely kind of transform the way that our office does business internally and with the public. And it's just been a magnificent tool for us, so we really appreciate your interest and are willing to do whatever we need to do to help you get the most out of this kind of a technology that's out there and available to you.
So I'll send out a follow-up email of just some links to what we talked about today. I hope that you guys can think about this and reply to it. And I mean, this infrastructure is here for all of us, so we're collecting this stuff anyway. I feel like it should be conveyed in a way that you guys can all utilize it effectively. So let us know what that looks like to you, whether it's an Uber map or a specific map or how we organize things on our website or whatever it is. That would be great. And if you need help using these tools, we're here for you. Just let us know. And please take donuts, if not for you, for your children on your way out. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I know you guys are busy, so I appreciate all the time you guys put into this, and let us know how we can help.
Yeah.